Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Courtney Battle, and I am the Executive Director of HAND. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone here today. I want to welcome you to our webinar this morning on how to apply for the LEAD Racial Equity Institute. The goal of today's session is to provide an overview of the upcoming program, how it's different from our previous programming, set expectations, and to also answer any questions that you may have as well. So first things first, we want to just set a couple ground rules before we get into the rest of the program. So if we could pull up that slide, please. Okay, thank you. So first is just respectful communication. Of course, this goes without saying, but we want to be respectful of speakers and other participants. So please keep that in mind as you're engaging in the program. We want this to be a conversation, and we want this to be, an informal way for everyone to be able to get a better sense of the program. But please do remember to be respectful, and then also full engagement. So feel free to drop your questions into the chat. Let us know of any concerns or thoughts that you want to bring to the table. That's why we're here today. So don't be shy. And with that, we can move to our next slide. All right. So at our core, HAND envisions a future where Black and Brown communities share equitably in the knowledge, wealth, and resources uniquely represented in and between Baltimore, Washington, and Richmond. We know that despite continued economic growth, the rise of inequality persists, with compounded inequities impacting communities of color specifically. HAND remains committed to catalyzing research and bold solutions that realize the promise of a region where all can thrive. And with that in mind, it's critical for us to continue to provide all of the supports and tools that we can to our membership who represent the ecosystem of partners who collaborate in bringing equitable communities to fruition. So for nearly the last decade, we've been centering racial equity in all that we do here at HAND. And over the last 4 years specifically, we've really been intentional in providing educational tools and working to model how we can operationalize racial equity across our region and our respective organizations. The LEAD Racial Equity Institute will be the third installment of our cohort style program that we've hosted. And this time we're really looking forward to moving beyond the educational piece and supporting our members in taking action. Next slide. So how is this program different? So first, it is a cohort style program, but what's different with this specific installment is that we're really calling on leadership of the organization to participate. And you'll hear more about this later in the session, but your C-suite leadership, your human resources leadership, and those that are really tasked with implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across the organization. We want those players to be at the table specifically. We'll also be including monthly learning sessions that are focused on the intersection of ready and community development, learning how to design and implementing a ready plan that's unique to your organization. So we're really excited about this. We want you to be able to walk away from this program with a plan that you can take back to your organization and put into action immediately. And then also you'll be receiving individualized coaching sessions to help you and your organization meet those unique goals throughout the duration of the program. So with that, I will turn it over to our program director, Susan Ortiz. We're going to do a brief icebreaker activity before we get into the rest of the program. And again, feel free to drop any questions or concerns in the chat, engage with us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Ortiz, the program director here at HAND. This program has come out of the evolution of feedback we've received from members of what you want to see come out of our training and have a little bit more guidance on how to implement these things we've been learning over the years through HAND's trainings. So that's a little bit of our evolution. So we just want to see where you all are on your journey with this work. So we have a little scale here. I'll walk you through how we're going to mark it up in a second. But we have a scale here that starts at a 1. So this means you have not started ready conversations within your organization, which is completely fine. Everyone is at a different stage of their journey with this work. A 2 is that you have determined that racial equity, diversity, and inclusion work is a priority, but you don't have a plan in place or necessarily a committee or dedicated staff around it. A 3 is that you know what you want your plan to be, but you need help with implementation. 4 is that you have started implementing your plan, but think you could be doing more, might need a little bit more guidance or support in some areas. And then a 5 feels like you have completed your journey and you're just here for more information, basically. So with that, if you go up to the top of your screen, it'll say you're viewing Tiana's screen, and there's a little drop down that says view options. And you'll see an option that says annotate. So if you click on that, there's a little check mark that says it has like a stamp next to it. You can pick any of those shapes. There's a check mark, an arrow, heart, star, X, and just mark on this scale where your organization is in this journey. If you have any questions with that too, you can drop them in the chat if you're having any trouble there. Anyone able to do that? Make sure it's working for everybody. Oh, it's not letting them do it on their end. Okay, well, how about we drop it in the chat where you are in your journey? We'll try it that way. Got a couple of 2s. Okay. Yeah, Sarah, let me a 4. Okay. Ooh, a 5. All right, Kenise, confident. We like it. All right, so we have a bit of a range, but it's good to see that everyone so far is thinking about this. Feels like they could use more support. I'm curious, Kenise, if you wanted to give a little more information on what it is you would like to get out of this program, if you're comfortable dropping that in the chat. If you guys feel like you've completed your journey, what exactly is it that you're looking for next? Good. All right. Well, as we go, if you guys want to continue to drop any questions or concerns you have in the chat, things you want to get out of this program, we can make sure we address them as we keep going. But I will go ahead and pass it over to Ebony. She's going to give us some more information on the structure of this program, the topics that are going to be covered, and the value that's going to come from the coaching and things.
Sure, thank you. You can go to the next slide. Can y'all hear me okay? Perfect. Hello and good morning. My name is Ebony Walden. I run a small consulting firm called Ebony Walden Consulting. Very easy to remember. My work is at the intersection of systemic racism and place. And what that essentially means is I help particularly housing and community development organizations create more just and inclusive communities, both through trainings, through cohort programs and leadership programs like this, from assessments to ongoing coaching and support for organizations. And my background is in housing and community development and urban planning. And so specifically working with housing and housing adjacent organizations is my specialty. I'm happy also to be working with HAND on the development and design and facilitation of the LEAD Racial Equity Institute. So we're excited for all of y'all interesting questions. So this program is really an opportunity to support people more intensely and more in depth on their racial equity journey. So you all are 2s or 3s or 4s or 5s. So I'm sure whether it's a HAND training or some other organizational training, y'all have had some introduction or training. It's kind of hard not to kind of post-pandemic. I did so many trainings. So y'all had some introductory training, but this is really for people to say, well, what now? What next? What do we specifically do? How do we launch initiatives or plans? What do we do to continue our work? And how do we get the support we need? Because just like Jeanette I think it was, or one of the said, or Kenise, just like Kenise said, there's always more work to be done, more information to be had. So that's the point of the program, to support you wherever you are on your journey. So the cohort would be like an all levels yoga class, where in the sense of you all are on your journeys, and our job as both a program and as facilitators will help you on that journey. So you'll be seeing my face a lot because I'll be one of the lead facilitators in the program. So it's 10 months, we have 10 sessions. We'll have a kickoff and a final session. Those are in person and all day. And then we'll have monthly virtual sessions, which will be sessions that are 3 to 4 hours. You'll have some pre-work for those sessions, so you'll come ready to report on the work that you've done, to talk about the homework or the work or reading or assignments in between sessions, and how are you moving toward forward on wherever you are in your racial equity journey. So we'll start every organizations will start between the first kind of couple months of the cohort with an assessment. Where are you and where you want to go? It's a self-assessment. And so each month we'll have readings and speakers and a list of workshop topics that cover here that will both give you the knowledge, skill, capacity, information, and support to move forward on your journey, right? So you'll start with that assessment, and we'll have kind of beginning where you at the first session. Hopefully at the last session, you will have a plan, you will have, or if you already have a plan, you will move forward in launching or an initiative or a specific body of work that will move towards your racial equity journey. So systematically, how are we moving through those? These are some of the topics we'll cover. So start with how we started, right? How did we get here? We have to understand the history and legacy of systemic racism and how that's showed up in housing. So chances are you all kind of know this already, but we have to start at the groundwork of how did we get here? What are the disparities that exist? How they particularly look in each of your own communities? And then from that space, understanding how to advance racial equity. And I think it'll be, or it will be a combination of a couple of things, that understanding as we move. What is your personal understanding and journey? And how do we support that through the program? Like increasing your knowledge and capacity. What is your organization's understanding and journey, right? And then how are you going to impact, or what's your impact you want to have in the larger housing field, right? So it'll be a balance of those things, particularly for the first couple of modules. So what's the history? What do we need to do to advance racial equity as a whole in housing? And then what do you need to do specifically within your organization to move the needle forward? And then we have some topical things that are we've heard from the constituency or housing constituency or hand constituency of topics that are interesting and helpful as you think about your racial equity journey. What does equitable community engagement even mean? What does equity and real estate development and housing mean? From an organizational perspective, how do you support vendor diversity, right? So it's not just who you're providing housing or support services to, but how do you even have racial equity in your organization, in your hiring, and in your vendor practices as well? And how do you measure success and maintain accountability, right? So as Kenise said, we always need to be on a journey. How do you know you're successful? How do you know you have moved the needle? And then how do you hold yourself accountable on those things? In parallel will be not only readings on these topics, but also some homework, on things like implicit bias, and all the things that will impact your organizational journey, but also your personal journey. So I want to cover those particular topics in the frame of the program. Next slide. So the program will be run by 2 co-facilitators, so myself and another co-facilitator, and we are there to be your guides through this journey, right? So we'll be designing and facilitating all the meetings. We'll also just be there for support to move you through your journey. We'll also be, we'll have guest speakers and panels and things of that nature. So we'll also be kind of leading and guiding that. But I'm sure you all have done leadership programs and other type of programs where you have lead or guide, well, facilitating all the discussion, the sessions, the dialogue, and keeping you all moving on your journey. So if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you are having issues with some of the content or things like that, or if your organizations, will be here to guide you through the process. So at every session, we will be leading and running that in tandem with the program staff at hand, as well as guest speakers. And so we want to make it interesting at most sessions to have a guest speaker. So that will be folks that are doing the work, are kind of advanced in their racial equity journey and can share learnings, folks from both the HANDS target area in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, as well as folks from across the country that are doing this kind of work and can offer some thoughts, some best practices, some feedback. So we want to keep it interesting. Our sessions will be engaging. It'll be a mix of you engaging with one another, you engaging with us, you engaging with the content, as well as you engaging with issues that have or will come up as part of this process in your organization. We'll also have coaches that are there to help you in your journey, kind of more one-on-one or as a team. So at least 2 and up to 4, and Susan will go into this, people will be part of your team. And so part of my job in life is to help organizations move through your journey. So you're gonna have questions. You're gonna have, what should we do here? You're gonna want some advice or some feedback. You're gonna have hiccups that you want to have somebody be a thought partner around. And as you move through from assessment to building your plan or initiative to implementing, just someone along the way that you can ask questions, that you can problem solve with, that you can answer questions that are experts on organizational development, leadership, and racial equity. So each team will be assigned a coach. They'll have at least the 5 hours with their coach that you can use at your leisure. We'll match you all and communicate. We'll also have a guide for program participants and how to engage with their coach in the process, as well as coaches. But you'll have it's kind of like you'll get some on-call consulting time with your coaches, so you can have a hands-on tactile of your specific organizational issues with your coach. And then me and the other co-facilitator will be managing the program and the process as you go in. And of course, we'll be available for questions. In each of the sessions, we'll have questions, dialogue, engagement, best practices, etc. But we feel like those 2 elements are important to you to give both kind of like broad level support in the program, but more individualized, problem solving over the course of the program, so that you can have both. And then I think I'm gonna hand it over to Susan, and she's going to wrap us up, talking about some of the program details and expectations.
Thanks, Ebony. You can go ahead to the next slide. All right, so we have the program requirements listed out here. As Ebony mentioned, this will be set up as a team. We are requiring that you provide at least 2 team members, and then up to 4 are welcome to participate. Some information there, as Courtney mentioned, we're targeting leadership and those who can have direct, immediate impact within their organizations. So if chosen, the head of your organization is required to participate. And then your other team members can consist of others who can drive change and implementation. So if you have a dedicated DEI staff member, someone on your senior leadership team, we encourage you to bring HR. And then if you have a board member who is essential to these decisions or these efforts, they're welcome as well to be a part of your team. For the sessions, just to be clear, those 2 to 4 team members need to stay the same throughout the sessions. They need to commit to 7 out of the 8 sessions. So we'll get to the schedule in just a second. But the participants must attend 7 out of 8 sessions. The kickoff and the finale will be in person. So those must be 2 of the 7 you attend. And then the virtual sessions throughout, there's leeway to miss one of those. Obviously, we encourage and would love for you all to be able to attend all of them, which is why we have picked the dates up front. So after you apply, you can go ahead and hold these dates on your calendar and commit to those times. And Also, Ebony mentioned the pre-work. So between sessions, we say there'll be about 5 to 7 hours of work in between each monthly session. So this could be a combination of that one-on-one coaching you're getting with your coach, setting up team check-ins with your team outside of these monthly sessions just to see where you are at internally on your progress on your plan. There'll be some pre-reading, those assessments, especially early on in the institute, and just things along those lines. So definitely will be more than just the 3 to 4 hours each month. There will be some work assigned with it. So making sure you're ready and prepared for that commitment as an organization as well. Next slide, please, Deanna. Here is the program schedule that I mentioned. So we have already outlined these dates. So if accepted, we'll send out calendar holds for all of these. The in-person kickoff will be on April 19th, and then the finale will wrap up in December. And then the sessions in between are virtual. You'll notice we have a break in August. This is where we would expect you all to meet as a team and kind of work on the structure. We'll call it a bit of a summer break, but we would still hope that you all meet as a team internally and talk about where you are in your plan, anything that you need to really focus on for the second half of the institute, and bring that back with you in September. Next slide, please. All right, and here we have a link to the application. It's dropped in the chat. Thank you, Tiana. The application, we encourage you all to look at it as a team. So bring together your team and go through the questions and collaborate on where you are and where you want to go with this program. But please elect one person who will be your team lead and your team point of contact to submit the application. It's due on February 16th, which is why we're having this webinar today. Give you guys plenty of time to go through the application, ask any questions. As mentioned, the team member who submits it will be the point of contact. So we would contact them if accepted or if we had any follow-up questions. And then the cost to participate is $10,000 for nonprofit organizations and $15,000 for for-profit. But other than that, that is all the information. We wanted to make sure we left plenty of time for questions for you all. So if you have any question, now is the chance. I'll open it up. Thanks, everyone.
Speak now or forever hold your peace, or put it in the chat. We blew them away. Yes, is there a minimum or maximum number of participants? So at least 2 and up to 4.
Sarah, do you mean like how many teams are we taking on? I think that might be. Yeah, so Courtney, you want to take that one?
We do have a limited capacity, but at this stage, we are welcoming, those who are interested. So we encourage you, if you are interested, to apply sooner than later. And we will be communicating if we do reach that cap, but we want to make sure that we can have a good, solid representation of our membership. And of course, don't want to turn away those who are interested. So hopefully that helps to answer the question, Sarah. Any others? And again, we're recording this session, so make sure that we send this out and also compile some of these questions as well, so that they're available to those who couldn't make it today.
Mm-hmm.
How do you support and facilitate internal dialogue for the organizations? So the program, well, from my view, the program is really to prepare you to figure out what are the questions, initiatives, or change initiative that you need to institute within your organization, and hopefully giving you some tools to do that. Now, how do you implement that within your organization? Of course, we'll be there to answer questions, and you can use your coaching sessions to help you brainstorm and work on any particular internal issues or things that you're having within your organization. So you can use those 5 coaching hours as you like, but it's really to equip you to then go and institute something within your organization.
Yeah, and I would just add there, a lot of the feedback we got is that people who were attending one-off trainings in the past to get like the basis knowledge or these specific topics, they're not necessarily at that leadership level. So they maybe don't feel comfortable going to leadership and saying, we need to do X, Y, and Z. So that's why it's really important that we have leadership at this table, because we're giving you the knowledge and you have that power and ability to go back and take this information from the top down and implement it.
Yeah, and so we'll be sharing best practices. This is a process, or that from both materials and from speakers and around the country, and that you can figure out between us and your other peers and your coach, which of these tools, resources, or processes are going to work within your organization, and then how you might implement that.
And I see there's a question in the Q&A box on whether we have a one-page summary sheet with program details. We do have a web page that's available, so we'll drop that in the chat, and that outlines all the details that we've shared today as well. So feel free to share that link with your colleagues or anyone else who might be interested.
Yeah, so if you already have a model or your things you're working through, this will support that model, right? So it's the whole point is to say, where are you and where do you want to go? And how do we help you get there? So of course, there'll be information and topics that may be different from your particular model. So it'll give you something else to chew on, right? Some other framework, some other best practices, some thought leadership around that. So you can integrate that in ways that make sense within your organization. So say we have 10 organizations, everybody's going to be at different places. So we'll say, okay, where are you within your journey? What are the strengths and weaknesses of your organization? Where is it that you want to go from here? Whether it's we're at mile 20 in a marathon, or we're at mile 5, and then how do you get there? So the whole point is for you to have some additional resources from where you already are in your journey. So some people will have had a plan implemented and then are figuring out how to go forward. Some people will not have a plan. And so that's the point of the assessment and the coaching sessions, to say, okay, what is it that we need in order to move forward? How can we use whatever resources and learning that you get from the program, and then integrate it into what you're already doing, right? And it's one of those things you got to, because we'll be sharing lots of different information and people at all levels. What about this is can I pilot, implement, try, use, put into my toolbox for now, somewhere down the line, or later? So I think it'll be both and, right? So when I'm working with clients, they are in general at so many varying places on their racial equity journey. So some folks are like, we've thought about it, but we think this is a priority. We're at the very beginning, right? That's part of the assessment in the debrief with the coach. And then you self-assessing to say, where do we want to go? What tools do we already have available? And then what is the next step, right? So if you think about, this is kind of like a strategic planning cohort for your racial equity initiative. Where are you? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? Who is going to do what resources we need? Not only helping you think through and about that, and then what are the other tools, models, information, best practices, resources that we're going to offer everyone as part of this together to continue to expand your learning and capacity and knowledge and tools for this journey.
Thanks, Ebony. And I'm just going to expand. Tara asked if this specific program has been run before. This will be the first Racial Equity Institute of this kind. HAND has done a series of one-off trainings in the past, but the feedback from members has been that they want something that is more of a journey and that they can walk out of it with an actionable plan. So in the past, these trainings have been very topic specific to housing. So this will be more focused on the intersection of racial equity and housing, and how it can not only affect your organization internally, but then how you serve the community, how you work with the communities you serve as well. So it'll be a more expansive program, like we said, spanning 10 months, and you'll build on each session and won't just be individualized topics each time.
Oh, I also did want to say that part of it is peer learning as well, right? And so our hope is that, you know, this will be a space where you can learn and talk through and about your issues with one another, that you'll share resources, best practices, models, what you've learned, what you've tried, what didn't work, what did work with one another. So that's also part of the process, is to create, you know, you ever had, oh, I got a call from a friend the other day and said, hey, I want to, you know, talk to you about something. I just need 5 minutes of your advice on something. What do you do? What would you do about this? And so we also want to support that with you all and one another. So you have, I don't know, 10 or so different organizations, however, I'm just making up that number, however it ends up being, that you can, at the end of this program, oh, this is what y'all doing? Okay, maybe we should try that. Or this is how you work through this thing with your board. Great. This is how you've changed your hiring practices or HR practices to be more equitable. Oh, great. You tried that. Or what do you think about that? I mean, that's also the framework for the coach as well. So that you have the facilitators, you have the coach, you have your guest speakers, and you also have one another to share ideas. And so that'll be also integrated as part of the program of like, what are you learning? What have you done? What resources that we can share with one another to support one another in the journey. Any other questions? I mean, if something comes up, I'm sure you can also email us, even as y'all are filling out the applications.
And I
Oh,
see,
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Ebony. I see a question from Tara in the Q&A box on whether or not you could have a combined team with an organization. At this time, we are only accepting applications from organizations, you know, as what?
Individual organizations.
Singular organizations. Thank you. Um, you know, that's something that, you know, at this time we haven't prepared for or set up the program to do. Not to say that we couldn't integrate that in the future, but at this time we're only accepting applications from singular organizations.
And that's really so that you can develop your organization initiative, right? So I think doing it yourself, and that could be a benefit of the program, as you say, oh, we have similar or aligned, but just like you would do a strategic plan or mission, vision, values, or any type of or program planning or initiative within your organization itself. So it's internal then external. And then we could also be having a conversation is what do we do collectively? Because racial equity is not something we really want to do the long-term impact we can do just within our organizations. You're gonna have to do both. I had a comment because we had talked about this as a design team too. As you are putting together your applications, we highly suggest that whoever's going to be on your team, that you all come together and discuss like what your answers are going to be for the team, and of course choose one person that's going to be doing the writing. But it makes sense for the team to sit down and kind of work through and outline the answers to the question, not just one person. One person can obviously fill it out, but these are things that you all are talking about, right? Of like, where are you all in your racial equity journey? 3 people from the organization may be saying three different things or have different realities. So part of even filling out the application is the discussion of where are we and where do we want to go. So we would highly recommend that y'all look at the questions as a team and then have a point of contact fill out the application for your organization.
Yeah, and I would just add to that what Ebony mentioned is you might have 3 different perspectives. I would say that's not going to hurt you, just making sure that you're including everyone's perspective so that we know what exactly it is that your team and your organization needs to focus on. Because if the goal isn't clear within the organization, that's something we can we'll be addressing and working towards in the Institute. Any other questions about logistics of the program, content, the application process?
Going once, going twice, 3 times. We want to leave some contact info just in case folks have follow-up questions.
Yes, so we'll be sending out, this session has been recorded, so we're gonna send it out to everyone broadly, as well as everyone who attended this session, along with links to the web page, the application form. There'll be a link to where you can download the questions ahead of time, so you can sit with your team and think through them before you're in the actual application. So that's on the web page as well, and then we'll also send you contact information. So if you have any follow-up questions that maybe you want to ask us offline, we are more than happy to answer that, or if you need to set up a call with us individually, we can do that too. All right.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Hope to see y'all's applications.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
I'll take care. Okay.